Our family has now raised hundreds of meat birds.
And they don't get to eat bugs. They don't get this much room to themselves, so.
We got our last batch of about 150 behind us here, and I think this is going to be our last batch ever that we do, so let's talk about it.
I'm done with chickens. We've reached the last day of meat bird day, or I guess keeping meat birds. Tomorrow they get butchered, finally.
You're not gonna hurt them, you're just gonna kill them.
If I'm being honest, I'm tired of them. I don't like them. I think we did too much. Hi Sawyer, coming to play?
See, chickens for many homesteaders are going to be the first thing that you're going to get into. You want laying hens, you'll get a few, and then of course chicken math, you'll end up with way more than just a few. And then after that, you'll realize, or after doing some research, you'll realize that laying hens aren't great for meat. There's not much meat going to be on them. So you look into Cornish cross. You look into bigger birds, meat birds, so that you can feed your family because you're still buying meat from the grocery store, right? See, our prerogative and our goal has always been to be self-sufficient. So when we got chickens, we wanted to move into meat birds, like I said. And so when we started talking about, okay, how many do we need? Most people will do 20 or 30. And we decided that since we eat about a chicken a week, we're gonna need 50, which is pretty typical. But most people will tend to do 30, maybe 40. We decided to do 50, and between my family and my parents next door, we ended up with 100 birds that we were taking care of. So we got these 100 birds and we had no idea what we were doing. We were trying to figure it out as we go along, and I mean, chaos is kind of what I do. If you follow this channel for a while, you'll know that I'm kind of chaotic. But in the end, our investment in these 100 birds wasn't exactly what we wanted it to be.
Last year we did 100 meat birds and I found that to be too much. This year, I wanted to do 30 total, but 30 split into two. So 2 batches of 15. And I think that would have been attainable. That would have been doable. But Ben decided instead of 30, he wanted to do 200. And I think he's finally realized kind of what I've been feeling with the meat birds. Do I like having the chicken on hand? Yes. Do I enjoy doing the meat birds? No. I find these birds very disgusting, very messy. I find them just overly expensive. We're working on trying to become more self-reliant. So in order to do that, we kind of need to distance ourselves from stores. So when you do a product like a meat bird, they eat so much. Like, we're going through almost a bag a day right now, and that is extremely expensive, especially because this year we had to keep our birds a little bit longer because, I don't know, they were just smaller. Maybe it was genetics or something into play this year. What's Sawyer?
See, what ended up happening was we ran into the harsh reality of, oh, things die. We had raccoon issues and we had foxes that would take stuff, and we really weren't prepared for that. Although we had laying hens in the past, we weren't ready for our meat birds to die so readily. And if you think laying hens are stupid, my goodness, meat birds are dumb. Very, very dumb. They'll get themselves into things and they'll just die for almost no reason. But let's be real, they're bred to grow big and grow fast, so of course they're going to have heart defects and they're going to have issues, but that's why you only raise them for 8 to 10. I think we did 12 or 14 weeks on these guys because it was a weird year.
I don't know, it's too much on us, especially this year with a new baby. It's been way too much, and I mean, I warned Ben it would be too much, so I told him this year that this was a him problem. I don't want to do this many birds. I think this is stupid. And, well, you know how that goes. A him problem turns into a me problem because who's going to butcher 200 birds? I said it wasn't going to be me this year, but I don't know. We'll see how tomorrow goes.
Don't get me wrong, that meat that we had and still have some in our freezer is the best chicken that we have ever tasted. Not just because it tastes good, but because it's rewarding. And then this year we decided, hey, we did 100 last year. We can definitely feed not only our family, not only my parents next door, We can also feed my brother, my sister, and then Nicole's family too, which therein kind of lies our mistake.
I don't think we'll ever be completely self-sufficient. Like, even if you look at the Amish, they still need to buy things from the store. And I think that's an unrealistic goal, but we can cut wherever we possibly can. And I don't think we need to do the meat chickens. I think there are other options, and I think there are cheaper options and more sustainable options, and I think meat bunnies might be a sustainable protein source for us.
See, something we don't really think about with regards to self-sufficiency is not being able to hatch these things ourselves. Like, we do have an incubator and we've hatched hens, but we really haven't focused on the meat bird portion. See, there's definitely multi-purpose birds that you can get, and we're even discovering that with our barred rocks that are kind of better than a lot of the other breeds that you can get, your typical whites or red laying hens. But still, this year we decided to invest in 200 chickens. Think about that, 200 chickens. And we have a small property. We have 3/4 of an acre. Where am I gonna put 200 chickens?
So, I've been dreading this chicken day since we got these birds. And tomorrow it's happening, and I just want tomorrow to already be over. But I'm tired of looking at the birds. I'm tired of smelling the birds. I'm tired of, I mean, I haven't really put a lot of work into it, but I'm tired of looking after them and feeding them and everything, even though I don't even do a whole lot of that work. But I'm tired of Ben having to do it, okay? I'm kind of grumpy at the birds this year because our first batch we lost quite a few birds, and I think that was environmental reasons. We know of a lot of people in our area that were having the same problem. We had a really weird summer this year, a lot of rain, so there was ups and downs in the temperature a lot. So I think it was a temperature regulation issue that a lot of us had this year. And then our second batch did better, but their growth was stunted for weeks. Like, we could not get these birds to grow. So I don't even know how old they are now, 12 weeks, 13, I don't know. But they're way too old, and they're not even like you would expect at that size to have like a turkey.
What we ended up doing was putting the birds here on our property. We bought this fence for a couple $100 online, and now they're here in our garden and have been for the last couple weeks. But what we've noticed is that we're kind of beholden to the feed store to buy these. We had to buy these from the feed store. We're beholden to buying feed from the feed store, which isn't necessarily a problem. We're still raising great birds, getting great meat, and a quality source of feed, but we're still reliant on somebody else. And as much as people will tell you that these birds are clean and they're fun and whatever, meat birds are disgusting. All of them. They're just gross. They live to eat and poop and just grow fast, to be freezer food, not to be very pretty or last long at all.
I mean, on one note, I am happy because these meat birds here have lived the best life that a meat bird could live. Most meat birds don't get to see the sun. They don't get to eat bugs. They don't get this much room to themselves. So I think we've done a good job of raising them as happy animals, and it's a much better product than you'd ever buy from the store. It just might not be a venture that we want to stay on, and if we do, we just want to do a couple of them. Yeah, doing bulk amounts of chicken is not worth it.
And let's be honest, we're not going to be chicken farmers. We don't really want to do this for a living. We're doing this for us. And what we found is we don't necessarily enjoy doing this, especially this many. Now, we may do fewer in the future, but probably not because, and we've been talking to other friends about this, there are better options for meat, different options for meat. And what would those options be? Well, specifically what we're thinking about is getting back into meat rabbits. We started with meat rabbits a few years ago and never really had the heart to kill them because they're so darn cute. But they also give you pelts. They give you their fur that you can use, whereas these chickens, they don't really grow many feathers, so they're not really useful. And if you think about it, rabbits are going to produce baby rabbits on a regular basis. You can have rolling feeds, so you don't have to worry about hatching these out, having broody hens. You don't have to worry about buying them from the feed store. You can just have rabbits pretty much all of the time, as long as you have a good setup. And I think that I'll be able to use these tractors that I built for the chickens with a little modification to be able to run rabbits instead. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing inherently wrong with chickens or raising meat birds for people or yourself. It's just something that we don't really want to do anymore. We see that in the market specifically, and we've talked to other friends who sell chicken, it's really not worth it. People want to buy the breast and not the rest of the chicken. They don't really care, and they're not really willing to pay a premium for your home-raised, better quality poultry. They want to have cheap chicken breast or cheap chicken thighs and not really think about where it came from, because at the end of the day, for a lot of people, it's just food. And to say that it's just food to us is crazy, because food is something you put in your body 3 times a day or more if you're snacking.
You can't be snacking on my snack like that.
And you need to be mindful of that. What is going into your body 365 days a year? And this isn't to get up on a high horse and say that we have the best quality food and we only put the highest quality organic. We want to be mindful of it. We want to live a long time and feel good if we are living a long time. And this is part of doing it. And we also don't want to stress about raising birds like this and stuff. So on to a new journey. And that new journey, I suppose, is meat rabbits. Maybe. Does anybody know where I can get some meat rabbits?